at Say in Strength. It's 2020, day before Thanksgiving. On cardio, on the power mill, the step mill, taking it step by step, 12 minutes in. Did 10 minutes before my workout, or 15 minutes before my workout. Doing about 15 after, but probably stay on here a little longer. Also got some walking in. I wanted to talk today in this edition of Saturday School about getting ahead and how to get ahead, and also how to not fall behind. The way I see it, I see a lot of people falling behind, getting behind, and I think maybe they think that means that they show up late to work and things like that. But that's not what I mean. What I mean by getting behind is not preparing your meals, not preparing yourself to the things you agreed upon over the last several years to spend more time on, whether it be your relationship, whether it be your relationship with your children, your wife, your brother, your mother, your father, whatever it might be, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to fitness, your relationship to God. I'd like to share with you today in this edition of Saturday School is a violent attack today is better than a well-planned attack tomorrow. But you do need a plan. And planning and scheduling, well, most people, a lot of people like myself, don't like it. We respond really well to it. So writing stuff down, having a schedule, there's a lot of scientific evidence and proof showing that simply committing to something on a specific day increases your ability to do that thing. When you commit to a not just a specific day, but a specific time and place as well, well, now it increases your chances by like fourfold. So it increases quite a bit when you say, I'm going to be at 24-Hour Fitness at 8 a.m. Monday morning in downtown Sacramento. Whatever it is, make an appointment with somebody. You have a coach, you have somebody that meets you there, you have a training partner, accountability. Even when you put it in your calendar and no one else is there to hold you accountable, you can hold yourself accountable. You can think about the standards and the accountability that you hold others to, but you don't hold yourself to some of those same standards. And sometimes we're really coercive with ourselves and too forceful on ourselves. And we might be lenient of others. We might give others room to breathe, but we might have a type A personality and be expecting too much from ourselves. Remember, a no expectation life is a life without stress. So you don't want to be expecting too much of yourself either, but you do have to be accountable for your responsibilities. What are your responsibilities? Your responsibilities are the things that you talked about that you thought would make you happy. Now, this is critical, that you find things that you really think that they're gonna satisfy you, that you really think are going to move you forward in the direction that you want to go. How do we know what direction we want to go? Well, we need a target. You need a target. Without something to shoot for, we don't know where to aim. We don't know which direction to even go in. And I've done this many times before. As I mentioned earlier, a violent attack today is better than a well-planned attack tomorrow. I'm a big believer in that wholeheartedly. I'm also a big believer in pulling the cart before the horse, putting the cart before the horse. They say repeatedly, time and time again, don't put the cart before the horse. That's not how Mark Bell does it. I always put the cart before the horse because I'm strong enough to pull that motherfucker. I know that I'll make it happen. I'm trying to live what my goal is. I'm trying to live and I told you so life without saying a fucking word. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live the kind of life where somebody shakes their head and they go, how in the fuck does he do that? He's kind of a dummy. He's kind of an idiot. But look at him. He's got a new house, he's got a new car, he's got his shit together. And not that I'm trying to matter to everybody else necessarily. It's just a little bit of a mindset, competitive mindset of mine. It's not a main focus. My main focus is to improve myself every day. Prove yourself to yourself and improve yourself for yourself. You can't think anything of yourself unless you're something. The only way you can be something is to do. Not to try, but to do. So you need to have things every day that you do. How do you get things done? How do you not fall behind? Well, you might want to look into making a schedule. You might want to look into writing things down. You might want to look into typing shit into your phone, typing shit into your calendar. You might want to talk to a friend and say, hey, this Sunday, notice I didn't say Monday, we're not starting on Monday. This Sunday, I want to go for a walk on the beach. Want to join me? Now you're accountable. Now you're on the hook. Hey man, I don't know if I told you this, but starting tomorrow, or starting right now, I've started a new program. I'm going to get on a diet. I'm going to finally make some changes. I wanted to see if you wanted to do it with me. See if you can have other people join in. Remember, the human mind is plastic, but it ain't that plastic, and it's not a fucking bungee cord. You can make some changes, but you can't overstretch. If you overstretch, you're going to lose tension, and you're going to snap. And you're going to snap right back into the bullshit things that you normally do. We can handle change, but only small, incremental change. What changes are we looking for? Well, I'm doing cardio. I'm in almost at 20 minutes right now. I'm exercising while I'm recording something. I'm doing two things at once. It's rare that I do one thing at once. I almost always am doing two things at the same time. I don't believe in being distracted. I believe in being present. However, there are things that you can do. You can listen to music while you drive. You can think while you're brushing your teeth about your day. There are a lot of things that you can quote-unquote multitask for. I also think that you got to be careful with what you're multitasking with, because it can be dangerous, like texting and driving, or texting and being with your family, thinking about other things is not necessarily great either, because it's not truthfully going to get you to some of those goals we talked about earlier. But when I think about getting behind, people are going to bed a half an hour later than they need to, an hour later than they need to, and in some cases 2 or 3 hours later than they need to. And it's simply because they have their phone with them. Just get your phone out of your room. Make a rule. Don't even bring your phone into your room ever. Don't do anything in your bed other than fucking sleep. Not fucking sleep, but fuck and sleep. Try not to have your bed be a place where you're doing a lot of other things. Maybe some reading. Reading is pretty light. Reading is pretty gentle, but not off of your phone. Use a book or use some other means, a Kindle, something like that, and have your phone not enter your room. Because once that phone enters the room, you start to break down some walls, and the phone is too distracting. We can't handle it, and we end up looking at it and messing around with it too much. But that going to bed a half an hour later is detrimental, or an hour later is detrimental, because it's going to offset your next day. And we offset the next day, we throw everything upside down. What allows for people to make changes is the first step. The first step is the most critical thing that will make for any turning point in anyone's life, is the first step. My first step when I fell with 1,085 was to get back into the gym. Step number 2 was to get back under a barbell and squat. But without step number 1, step number 2 would have never happened. I fell with 1,085. It nearly wiped me out. Wiped out my powerlifting career. I tore my pec 3 times in powerlifting. The first step was to get back in the gym. Step number 2 was get to the root of the problem. Find the root cause of the issue and try to solve it. The solving was to get back and bench press again after tearing my pec, bench pressing several times. You got to face your fears. If you don't face your fears, you can't ever truly live. I say face your fears and follow through with your dreams. You got to knock them head on. You got to take them head on. The only way that you're going to be overcome these things is with a first step. Somebody might say, how do I take that first step? It's the same thing as not having your ass come off the bench when you bench press. It's don't move your ass. Concentrate more. To take the first step, you must take the first step. There's no philosophical information I can give you. There's no pill I can give you. There's no motivation I can give you. All I can tell you is that you have to take the first step. All I can tell you is that it's worth it. It's going to be worth it. Because even if it's a misstep, even if it's a step in the wrong direction, you learned more about yourself. It's time that you stop living behind. And it's time that you start living ahead. It's time that you start living on the other side. It's time that you see it from the successful side of life. It's time you see it from the wealthy side of life. It's time you see it from the spoiled side of life. And you get to live out and see what that style of life can actually bring you. And what that style of life can actually do for you. It is my belief that we have all these things inside of us. We have the power inside of us. We have greatness inside of us. We have genius inside of us. We all have genius inside of us. People think that's me blowing smoke up their ass. Or people don't want to believe it. Or they don't want to hear it. But we do. It's your job to vigorously, consistently, constantly be in search of that. What is that greatness? What is that beat of your heart saying? What is it? What is the sound of it? What is the cadence of it? What is the rhythm of it? Probably a little bit different than everybody else's. Just like your fingerprint. Why is your fingerprint different than everybody else's? There's 7 billion people in this world. Why are you slightly different than everybody else? Do you ever think that it's made to be that way? You ever think that's the design of the world? It's for all of us to be different. For us to have many things in common. But for all of us to be a little bit different. You are made out of something different. It's time that you stop living your life from behind. It's time that you stop rushing your kids out the door to go to school. It's time that you stop rushing out the door with unprepared meals. You have no plan on where you're going to eat. You have no plan on where your next amount of money is going to come from. You have no idea or no you don't know the next time you're going to be able to get any fitness in. You don't know the next time you're going to be able to do your favorite hobby because you're not planning ahead and you're not looking into these things. All these things are easy to consider. All these things are easy to put into a plan. It's the careful planning day by day that over a period of time will build up. And anyone can build these things up. It's about stacking them up over a long period of time. Days and weeks and months. The small incremental changes that no one wants to hear about. I started out doing this cardio 6 minutes a day. 6 minutes a day for a few days. Then I did 7 minutes before and after a workout. Then I did 10 minutes before and after a workout. And now here I am. I did 15 minutes before the workout. And I'm at 25 minutes after this workout. I'm doing it. I'm living proof that you can do it. The human mind is plastic, as I mentioned earlier. You can make these changes, but you can't make them all at once. You can change your diet. You can change your nutrition. You can change your training. You can change your mindset. You can go from being a broke mindset to having a strong, powerful mindset that ends up being something that you and other people can rely upon, can lean on, and can utilize as a resource of power anytime that you need it. It takes time to build these things up, but you'll be able to do it over time. Man and his weakness is a creature of circumstances. Man and his strength is the creator of his circumstances. Remember that. I'll say it again. Man and his weakness is a creature of circumstances. Man and his strength is the creator of his circumstances. When it comes to strength of character, it's based off of two things. Your strength of character is based off of your will to do And secondly, the power of self-restraint. So the doing and the not doing is what your character is based off of. And if you want to live ahead and you want to start flying with the people that are successful, an eagle, when an eagle soars at maximum height, the only other bird it's going to see is another eagle, because only eagles soar that high. No other bird can reach that altitude. You want to be an eagle, and you want to stop being a donkey. You want to be able to reach that altitude. You can do it, but it's going to take careful planning. It's going to take a combination of that violent attack that I mentioned earlier. It's not just about attacking. It's not just about getting after it. It has to be about a little bit more than just that. It's not going to be easy, but over time, you'll be able to get to it. It's going to take a lot longer than you think. Just like building muscle, just like building yourself in the gym, there's a periodization to it. It's going to take time, but it's going to be worth it. The falling behind pitfalls that you fall into, the key is to not get slowed down by the mud. The key is to not fall into those pitfalls we all fall into. But you're self-sabotaging yourself, and you need to face it. You might even need to write it down. What are 3 ways you're sabotaging yourself? Okay? Now, what are 3 ways you can avoid sabotaging yourself? You're eating healthy the whole entire day. You're getting a good training session in. You're getting a good day of work in. And because of that, you think that you earned a brownie and a big old glass of milk at the end of the day. And you did not. Because you don't want to reward yourself with that. That's not a reward, that's punishment. Because that's going to set you backwards. Even further back than where you wanted to go. Remember and keep in mind your original goal. And also remember this. Think this throughout the day. How does this help? How does this hurt? I want you to think about that. How does this help? How does this hurt? All this stuff, as I mentioned, is going to take time. And I want you to remember this quote. A patient man is always richer than a rich man without patience, even if the patient man has less money. Why is that? Why would a patient man be richer? It's because the patient man can afford the time. And the guy who's rich and not patient, he can't afford that time. You have time to develop careful planning and develop better accuracy with what it is you're doing each and every day. I laid out some fundamental plans on how you can do that every single day. There are leverages in life that you can pull. There are levers that you can pull every single day that will set you forth, that will set you free, because it will build an indomitable will that no one will be able to shatter or take away from you. I have done it over the years. I still have a long way to go with my own personal development, but I feel stronger every single day. In order for you to make the changes that you want to make to yourself, you have to take the first step. Gradum ferociter. Once you do take that first step, step by step, ferociously, constantly, consistently, putting one foot in front of the other, you can do it. As Ice Cube would say, put your ass into it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this edition of Saturday School. It means a lot to me. Share this out with other people. Share this out. Listen to this a couple times yourself. And ask yourself, are you getting behind? What is the self-sabotage? Why are you sabotaging yourself? Why are you stopping yourself? Are you really just not that interested in the goal? Should you slightly change the goal? Is your goal unrealistic? A lot of times the goals are unrealistic. And we want them to happen too fast. We need to sometimes slow ourselves down and make sure the goal is more reasonable, more casual. something that we can obtain a little bit easier. The hard part is sometimes these things aren't sexy. Like, hey, you should go on a 10-minute walk. And you're like, well, what's exciting about a 10-minute walk? Nothing. Hey, what's exciting about reaching your goal? Everything. Sometimes it's going to have to start with, not even sometimes, all the time, it's going to have to start with a small step. You have the small step inside of you already. So take the small step. Take what the defense gives you. Take what's out in front of you. It's there for the taking. The PRs, the personal bests, they're sitting right there. They're right in front of you. But you're looking for the bigger ones. You're looking for the PBs and the PRs in other areas. In other areas where you already excel. And you need to look for the PRs in areas where you don't excel. You need to look for the PRs and the PBs, personal best, personal records. You need to look for that shit in places you haven't even explored yet. You owe it to yourself to do it. Maybe you don't read that much. Maybe you don't explore your mind that much. Maybe you don't think about your thoughts that much. Maybe you don't think about other people and what they say. Maybe you don't think about words that are said to you. Maybe it's time that you start thinking, because that's what separates out, in my opinion, people that are a huge success versus people that are not, is simply the thinking and the doing. But if you don't think, you won't do, because you won't have the thought, you won't have the creativity, you won't have the inspiration in there. Remember, creativity, imagination, and wisdom, they build cities. They cure diseases. They move all of human evolution forward. Not just knowledge. A lot of people have knowledge. A lot of people know shit, but they don't have the wisdom and the courage to utilize it. That's the difference between wisdom and knowledge, is that with wisdom, it's knowledge that you put into use and that you actually found useful. You have the knowledge inside of you. You already know the diet. You already know the training. You already know the answer. The answers are right inside of you. You don't need me to tell you what they are. You don't need to hear about Mark Bell and his bench press routine to bench press more weight. You know the answer. The questions that you have for me, ask them in front of your phone with the camera pointing towards you and record it. Listen to it back, and I bet you'll have an answer. I bet you'll have 3 to 5 answers come right off the top of your head. You're like, oh yeah, when it comes to deadlifting, I'm actually pretty negative about my training, and I could be more positive and I'd have a better result. Right? You know it's true. You know it's true. I could probably build up my lower back a little bit more. Probably wouldn't hurt to build up that deadlift, right? You know the answers. The answer's inside you. Everything you need is within you. You don't always need to go to other people for it. You know the truth is locked in there already. You wouldn't be poking around at these things if you didn't already know that these things are in your best interest. And I guarantee you that you know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. But you have too much self-doubt lingering in your system. Self-doubt is going to be something that can paralyze you. You need to be unparalyzed. You need to understand that anyone can bring up some conjecture on how to make something better. Anyone can correct an error. A child who's stirring a pot, who burns himself, burns his forearm on the pot, can error correct and now have knowledge that he puts into action, and now has wisdom, so that when the next child comes along, he can say, hey, when you're stirring that pot, you want to be careful because it's actually hot. I burned my forearm. Here, look at this scar. A 7-year-old can do that. Pull yourself together. Put on your big boy pants and get ready to fucking rock and roll, and get ready to face each day on with everything that you got. Wake up out of bed enthusiastic, ready to tackle the day. Get up out of your car when you stop and park somewhere. Fly out of your car like you're on a mission. When you get up in the morning, pop up out of bed and be grateful and thankful for another day on this earth. And go wipe the fucking floor with everyone's face as you set forth dominating the day and moving into the things that you want to do. There's absolutely no reason to allow anyone to get in your way. And lastly, no one's even really actually in your way except for yourself. It's your own mind's interpretation of what's going on, that if you think anyone's in your way, it's actually just you. I have a quote from Super Training Gym that says either you're in or you're in the way. And the truth of it is, a lot of times, most of the time, we are in our own way. Stop being in your own way. Step aside. Step aside. Pull the excuses away. Get rid of the broken mindset. Stop being so negative. Stop being a worrier and turn yourself into a warrior. People worry about the past and they worry about the future. They worry about things that have already happened, right? They worry about things that have already happened that you can't do anything about. And they worry about things that haven't even happened. And it causes depression and anxiety. Anxiety is fear over things that haven't happened. It's illogical. It's irrational. Be a rational animal and start kicking today and every other day right in the fucking nuts as hard as you can. Squeeze the most out of every single day. The way you're going to squeeze the most out of every single day is to try not to bite off more than you can chew. You're going to eat an elephant one bite at a time. You're going to tackle your diet one meal at a time, one bite at a time. You're going to tackle your training one training session at a time, one rep at a time, one set at a time. That's today's edition of Saturday School. I got to tell you, it feels pretty interesting and pretty amazing to have started this Saturday School, and the responses that we get from people have been outstanding. They've been amazing. And I was telling my nephews the other day, I was talking about how hard I struggled in school, and my dad said, yeah, now Mark has his own school. It's called Saturday School. I thought that was pretty neat. Anyway, strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch y'all later.